Brad Wright, the writer of Stargate, has finally admitted that he's been secretly working on a continuation of the franchise for over 2 years. And yes, Daniel Jackson's name is already written into the scripts. But Wright's project was reportedly passed on by Amazon MGM, even as the studio pushes ahead with its own Stargate revival. So why is Daniel Jackson still at the center of these conversations? If Amazon isn't using Wright's vision, how does Michael Shanks' involvement fit into the puzzle? And most importantly, could Daniel Jackson really return to the Stargate universe without the very creators who defined him? Let's answer them all. For over 2 years, Wright has been quietly shaping a brand new Stargate project with MGM. His vision is of a modern-day Earth crew at the heart of the story, preserving the franchise's adventurous DNA while attracting a new generation of viewers. But hidden in those details was a bigger revelation. Daniel Jackson was there from the start. Wright didn't mince words when talking about how natural it felt to bring the character back. "When you're writing a character you've written 10,000 lines for," he said, "I can hear your voice very, very clearly when I'm typing." That single quote opened Pandora's box. It suggests entire episodes have already been drafted where he does. Somewhere out there, scripts exist with Daniel Jackson alive, active, and very much a part of the Stargate universe again. But here's where the story twists into even murkier territory. Wright also hinted that Shanks wouldn't be returning as a permanent fixture. Instead, Daniel Jackson could weave in and out of the narrative, showing up when the story demanded it, disappearing when it didn't. For some fans, it raises uncomfortable questions. If this really is a continuation, why not bring him back in full force? Is this about Michael Shanks' availability, budget constraints, or something Amazon hasn't told us yet? Because here's the elephant in the room. Brad Wright's Stargate project was never greenlit. Amazon MGM holds the keys now, and all signs point to them charting their own course, which means Wright and his vision may already be left behind. And yet, Daniel Jackson's shadow still hangs over everything. To understand why his name keeps resurfacing, you have to look back at what he means to Stargate itself. First introduced in the 1994 film by James Spader, Daniel was the outsider who cracked the code to the Stargate and transformed from an unassuming archaeologist into the heart and soul of the SG-1 team. He wasn't just another character. He was the reason the gate opened in the first place. From that point on, he became the moral compass of the series, the scholar who questioned authority, the voice of reason that often stood against the easy path. Among fans, he's considered one of the franchise's brightest stars, an undisputed favorite who represents the heart and curiosity of Stargate itself. Michael Shanks established that legacy through his portrayal in SG-1, Atlantis, and Universe. He and Richard Dean Anderson even anchored the launch of both spin-offs, their appearances serving as a bridge between old and new, ensuring fans felt grounded in familiar territory before new adventures began. Yet Daniel's journey was anything but smooth. Shanks walked away in Season 5, frustrated with creative directions and in need of a break. In one of the show's most emotional exits, Daniel was killed in Meridian, ascending to a higher plane with Oma Desala. Fans mourned, and many thought his story had ended, but Daniel Jackson doesn't stay gone for long. Shanks returned 2 seasons later, pulled back not just by the writers, but by overwhelming fan demand. His resurrection was explained through Daniel's inability to follow the laws of the Ascended, banished back to the mortal plane. It was a twist that gave birth to a running gag about his seemingly endless cycle of deaths and returns. Instead of weakening the character, it made him iconic. Daniel became the man who defied death itself, again and again, because the Stargate universe simply wasn't complete without him. This is why Brad Wright's revelation hit so hard. Knowing that Daniel Jackson was written into Wright's new scripts was validation. It meant the franchise's next chapter would still be tied to the character fans loved most. But despite Wright's passion and careful plans, his pilot project was ultimately shelved. After Amazon's acquisition of MGM, Wright and his team revealed that Amazon had shown zero interest in bringing them on board. The news left fans with a bitter taste, especially as comparisons surfaced to how Amazon had sidelined Peter Jackson during its Lord of the Rings adaptation. Many saw it as history repeating itself. Still, this doesn't mean Stargate is dead. Far from it. Amazon MGM has every intention of leveraging the franchise. It was, after all, one of the jewels that motivated the acquisition of MGM in the first place. Joseph Malozzi, a former executive producer and writer on the series, confirmed via Reddit that Amazon is definitely planning a new Stargate project. In fact, as far back as 2020, he had teased that development was already well underway, describing progress as 5 chevrons locked. And then, the rumor mill kicked into overdrive. According to multiple sources, including YouTube's The Popcast, Prime Video had a massive plan ready to roll out at San Diego Comic-Con. July 23rd, 2023 was supposed to be the day. The stage was set, the panel scheduled, and a roadmap was locked in. That roadmap was to start with a movie. It was a 2-part special designed as a pilot, then rolled directly into a brand new series. It was a connection between SG-1 Atlantis and the future of Stargate. The announcement even had star power behind it. Amanda Tapping, Michael Shanks, Joe Flanagan, Robert Picardo, David Hewlett, Paul McGillian, Lexa Doig, Christopher Heyerdahl were reportedly lined up for a panel that could have sent shockwaves through the fandom. And Amazon didn't stop there. They allegedly had a teaser video ready to go. That visual alone would have taken fans right back to the Atlantis finale, when the city ship landed off the coast of San Francisco. But then, silence. The Writers Guild and SAG-AFTRA strikes swept across Hollywood, and just like that, the Comic-Con announcement vanished. Instead of a triumphant reveal, fans were left with whispers. The rumor is that the strike didn't just delay the announcement, it might have put the entire project at risk. According to insiders, Amazon's Stargate plans and even the RoboCop reboot could be shelved indefinitely. If the strike dragged on past September 2023, Stargate could be pushed all the way back to 2027. And that wasn't the only twist. The same insiders claim Stargate Universe won't be part of this new plan, because the official line is that the cast was too big, and that there's some sort of tricky situation involving David Blue, who played Eli Wallace. Without Eli, you can't address the universe. So instead of solving that puzzle, Amazon may simply erase it from continuity. But the strikes didn't just freeze Amazon's schedule, they also cracked the door back open for Brad Wright himself. The same Brad Wright whose script Amazon rejected for not fitting their vision. The same Brad Wright whose voice fans have been demanding since day one. Because while Amazon was pushing out Wright's ideas, they were reportedly negotiating with The Expanse's creative team. Mark Fergus, Hawk Ostby, and Naren Shankar to take over. Writers known for gritty, grounded, political science fiction. The kind of team that could turn Stargate into something darker, sharper, maybe even more complex. And as of mid-2025, strong signals suggest Amazon's path involves a new Stargate movie to relaunch the brand, followed by a series designed to expand the universe. The move fits perfectly with their broader strategy, reviving dormant MGM properties into streaming powerhouses. Alongside talk of Stargate, Amazon has already unveiled projects tied to Legally Blonde, Fame, Barbershop, Poltergeist, The Magnificent Seven, Pink Panther, The Thomas Crown Affair, Creed, RoboCop, Tomb Raider, and even a fresh take on the Bond franchise. Stargate, with its 17 years of television history and global fanbase, is arguably the crown jewel. But even as Amazon prepares its own Stargate project, the fandom itself is caught in a storm of contradictions. The loudest concern, repeated across forums and social media, is the absence of the franchise's original architects. Neither Brad Wright, Joseph Malozzi, Robert Cooper, Jonathan Glassner, nor Peter DeLuise appears to be involved. For many, this is the single biggest red flag. They worry that without the creative voices who built Stargate's identity, the series could lose its heart. This is the vision that made it more than just another sci-fi show. Of course, there are countercurrents. Not everyone wants the old guard back. Some still carry resentment over creative choices in Atlantis and Universe, pointing to Wright's infamous comments blaming Atlantis fans for Universe's struggles. These voices argue that the franchise was killed on the previous producer's watch, and that it's time for a new generation, writers inspired by Stargate, but not bound to it. And yet, for all the disagreements, one sentiment unites most of the community. Stargate should not be rebooted. The appetite is overwhelmingly for continuation. Fans don't want a retelling of what they've already lived through. They want the story to move forward. So what should that continuation look like? That's where the imagination of the fandom splinters into fascinating directions. Some dream of picking up where the universe left off, bridging the long gap with a malfunction aboard Destiny. Wright himself once speculated on Season 3, Eli surviving, the ship continuing its mission to uncover the origins of the universe, and even entire generations of humans descended from the crew. Others lean toward an Earth-centered story, with the Stargate program finally made public, Atlantis lending technology to humanity, and new threats emerging in the form of criminal networks or rival factions. This, they argue, could modernize the series by blending the galaxy's mysteries with the tone of popular crime procedurals. And this is where the contradictions crystallize. Fans want something new, but not too new. They want the originals involved, but only some of them. They want Earth strong, but not invincible. They want the familiar, but not recycled. Stargate's future is a puzzle with no single solution, and every possible path risks alienating someone. But here's where the cracks really start to show. Fans want a specific kind of Stargate. Short streaming seasons, 6 or 8 episodes dropped years apart, that's already a red flag. The fandom remembers the golden era of 20+ episodes per season, where you got those so-called filler episodes, but those weren't filler at all. That's where character bonds were built, the kind of slow-burn development that made Jack, Daniel, Sam, and Teal feel like family. Compare that to today's trend of grim, moody, prestige TV, and you'll see the problem. Fans point to Dark Matter, co-created by Stargate's own Joe Malozzi, as proof it can be done right. A space noir adventure with lovable characters, sharp chemistry, and yes, still plenty of mystery and danger. Many believe that's exactly the balance the universe missed. And speaking of tone, there's another big debate. Romance. Stargate has always had hints of attraction here and there. Sam and Jack, anyone, but don't make it the core of the story. Too much focus on love triangles or soap opera style drama and you lose what makes Stargate, Stargate. Of course, there's also an elephant in the room. The franchise wasn't perfect the first time around. Fans haven't forgotten some of the creepier moments, like McKay's unwanted advances on Carter. The hope is that if Amazon moves forward, they will bring the heart and humor of the franchise into modern times without repeating old mistakes. Now, if we zoom out for a second, the franchise itself is still massive. We're talking about one blockbuster film, 214 episodes of SG-1, 3 movies, 100 episodes of Atlantis, and 40 episodes of Universe. That's over 350 hours of Stargate. Not to mention books, comics, and an active fan base that's still buzzing decades later. And that's why Amazon is walking a very thin line. On one hand, the company has supported Stargate through licensing, and fans admit they haven't ruined it, at least not yet. But when Amazon executives say they want to find a new audience, longtime fans hear something very different. They hear reboot, recast, ignore the originals. And that's the nightmare scenario. Because for many, the return of Daniel Jackson, or any of the original characters, is the bridge, the symbol that connects what came before with whatever comes next. And Brad Wright actually had a plan for that. His shelved project included Daniel Jackson himself, but Amazon passed. Which leaves us with the million-dollar question. Will Daniel, or any of the original team, actually return in Amazon's version? Right now, the answer is hidden behind closed doors, but if Amazon tries to go it alone, without the original creative team, they'll be fighting against not just the challenge of making a good show,